All right, there we go. We
All
are
right,
live.
man, Lenny,
So,
we are back. This is week number 2, man. How you
two.
feeling? Week number
Look at
2,
that. Look at
we
us.
are here
I'm doing good.
already.
I'm feeling
Double in a
good,
row.
man.
That means we
It's
make it
it.
time.
Hey, listen. I know you. We don't know a lot. You don't know a lot about me, but a commitment like this is something that's been really easy for me to kind of step away from in the past, and that's why it's good to have the accountability. Like when you called me for you got a hold of me Friday, I went, oh no, and I really, like I said, I kind of told you, and I'm giving myself grace. Don't get me wrong, but I've been hard on myself because I haven't done my writing every day, and I haven't gone like I've done my walks, but then I got distracted, and at nighttime it's really tough because it got up to like 90 last week, and the girls. I wanted to take the girls with me, or they wanted to go, and I didn't want to take them with me, and I just kind of talked myself out of going to the walk. So because that's just I want that time for myself. I hate to say that as a father. It's not that that I'm that I don't want them around. Obviously, you know what I mean. And we do a lot of things outdoors as much as we can. But for me, it's like that time just needs to be for me to be able to reflect and just to kind of you know ramp myself up in the morning as well as kind of calm myself down at night, if that makes sense. Um, so but each time I've sat to go to write, it goes into my mind immediately, like, dude, you got to be on this more. This is something this is important to you. This is something that you really want to do. And maybe in the past I would have got on here and been like, oh man, I wrote everything, but I spilled coffee on it or something. Yeah, that's the kind of man I was. Or my daughter took it, or I would have an excuse because I didn't want to get into any kind of confrontation about it. But I've been telling myself just straight up, like, or I would have wrote, and pretended like I had written it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm trying to get away from being that guy. I'm not that guy. I don't need to be afraid of making good decisions. I don't need to be afraid of standing up and taking accountability for myself. And unfortunately, with the trauma I've had, that's been a big deal for me in the past. And so yeah, so I wanted to, I told you that earlier, I was like, I'm ready to get yelled at here. You know what I mean? But it's sometimes tough kind of getting into things. And I've changed so much in a week. Like I've really stuck to my diet, which is pretty awesome. That's 7 pounds in one day or 1 week, man. No drinking, thank you. Yeah. Um, and then no sweets, I just cut everything out. And so, I mean, I'm committed to all of the steps. It's been kind of weird for me to kind of make everything happen, but I'm making no excuses to this at all. I'm trying to really keep myself in line here, and and one, not going back and trying to guess what I was feeling or what I was how things were going that day. And I am just going down the list of the days that I've committed to doing. So that was kind of tough, but otherwise, I mean, I feel like I'm on the right track. I feel like things are going well. I'm able to now really um, organize my time even better now, since I've done this. Started with you, as well as this new bullet journaling I think I told you about. It helps you really keep track of your like. I work for 2 hours now. I take a 15-minute break. If I work for 4, I take a 30-minute. If I take any extra time, say if I, hang out with the girls or whatever, when I go, into the house, then, I'm adding time to my work schedule. I'm very like, I don't have my journal with me now, but I'm very structured with the amount of time that I'm working on each task, instead of just going like, oh, well, oh, I should clean this up. Well, that's not what I'm there to do. I'm there to work on my, whatever it is, the website or whatever. And so, yeah, so that's where we're at. But with the writing, and there's no excuse for it. Like, I love to write. I've always loved to write. I love writing journals. I mean, I'm one of those guys. So I don't think there's an aversion to it. I think I just lose the time, if that makes sense. So now I've got myself, I didn't mention that, but now I've got myself at a reminder every night, because I go to bed about 10 o'clock is when I try and get to bed. because I'm getting up earlier too now, you know, and so now every night at 9:45, I've set myself an alarm, and that's right before I go get my hot tub. And I get my hot tub, I drink my nighttime tea after that, and then I go to bed. And so now I've got myself an alarm set that I did for last night, and uh and wrote, you know, and I don't have an excuse now. If I'm turning that alarm off, then I'm making a conscious decision not to do this, you know, and then I'm letting myself down. I mean, you know, it's not like anybody else. I mean, it's because this isn't going to hurt your feelings in the long run. You know, it's gonna. We may, you know, there may be some way that you're going to be like, hey, come on, man, you know, I'm trying to help you here, and you're not helping yourself. That's how I would feel, you know. But in the long run, it's hurting me. It's hurting my girls. It's hurting, you know, the people around me that want to see me succeed. You know, it hurting their feelings. But it's not like I'm going to get fired from life, you know, or you know what I mean. Like, so it's just I got to take responsibility for
Well,
it, and that's why I've made the call.
well, I mean, I guess we done for the day. You done did the whole thing.
No,
I ain't got much to say,
no,
man.
man.
You done talk your stuff around. No, but and,
Well,
and I do appreciate your assessment because you know it takes two things. We have to recognize, you know, what are our goals and how are we prioritizing our goals? Because life is gonna happen. It's gonna get busy. This is a major change. So definitely shout out, especially sticking to, you know, your walks in the morning, sticking to being able to lose weight and stick to a diet. Those two, that takes full concentration in itself. So you know, being in that space is very good. Here's a concept I want you to walk away with today, and this is something that I'm actually you know it kind of popped in my head a couple of days. Well, actually, my wife and I we've been doing this for at least over a year now, but the whole concept I'm actually going to probably create a video about is the concept of one letter. It's a 3-letter word that if we change one letter in that 3-letter word, it changes the trajectory of how we feel about our life. It changes the space in which the attitude that we can have in terms of moving forward, and it changes the way that we. It gives us almost a boost of encouragement to move on to the next, and that's moving from the word got to get, from GOT to GET. A lot of times, especially when we're met with a lot of tasks and a lot of things that we have to do, we feel like I gotta do this. I've got to get this time in. I've got to write. I've got to, you know, I got to exercise. I got to walk twice a day. I got to, you know, take care of the kids. But what if we just say I get to do it? It's like, man, you know what? Today I get to get up in the morning. I get to walk. I get to take care of my babies. I get to spend, you know, 5 to 10 minutes writing, you know, about my full day to day. I get the opportunity to be able to move in this space. That has a different tonality to it. It has a different feeling. And it's literally changing one vowel from an O to an E. And if you begin to reframe your thought process, and instead of saying, you know, and I'm not saying, I don't know if you say it or not, but, you know, and I got to get this in real quick. If you just slow down and say, you know what, I get to write about my day. Right before I, you know, hop in a hot tub and go to bed. I get to, you know, get out there and walk. I get to, you know, just saying I get to do this. It gives a space of appreciation. It gives a space of you recognizing the significance of your body and the ability to be able to do things. And, you know, it just changes the trajectory of how you're feeling about your overall being and whatever task that you have laid in front of you. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, and that let me tell you, this has nothing. I got off last time on our thing, and I said, I texted my partner, or texted Lisa and said, you know, is it too much if I was just to call him and tell him I love him? And she says, just tell him you appreciate him, and I'm telling you, that's exactly why, man. That right there, immediately when you said that, got to get. It does. It changes, and it changes the way you accept things inside too, right away. As soon as you said it, I'm like, of course, because
It
that's really how I
feels
look at stuff. Yeah, it really does, man. And I appreciate you. That's exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about where I I really do. That's that it does. I mean, that's a positive way of looking at it. It's a reinforcement for yourself. Yeah, man, I'm all over it, dude. I love that. I think that's, yeah. I really do appreciate that because I won't look at it any other way now. You know what I mean? Like yeah, yeah. So yeah, man, I love you. I do.
ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it, man.
Yeah.
Other way. But
Yeah.
and I'm glad you're able to even process it in that way. Like being, it does something totally different to your whole mind about whatever the
Yeah.
task is. It's not as when we say God, it adds heaviness to it. It adds a space of I feel like I'm forced to do something. It takes the ownership out of it. It almost seems as if like I'm working. But when you say I get to, that's mine. Like this is my time. This is my opportunity. And now I can
Right.
grasp it. And I can move forward with whatever I need to do instead of saying that. And I find myself saying it, especially with my children. I got toddlers. I love them to death, but sometimes nighttime after a full day of trying to put them down to bed is a lot. And I find myself sometimes moving fast through taking care of, like moving fast through the bedtime routine, but stopping to say, you know what, I get to take care of my babies before they go to bed. I get to be the last person they see before they wake up in the morning. You know what? Let me center. Let me stop focusing on life and focusing on the next task and live in the moment and really recognize this moment and what this moment means and what it means and how it can move forward with how I'm feeling and how it can make everlasting memories for them. So, something as small as that, where we're always moving, it's just like, oh, you mentioned earlier, the girls want to go for a walk with you. Like, you know what, man, I get to take the babies out for a walk, one time. Yes.
Right.
And looking at it in that way, even though, yes, to your point, you do need that protective time for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in the space of, the space of not doing it at all versus getting the opportunity to, walk with your girls, let's do it. Let's do it.
Right.
It's an opportunity to create those memories because in 5 to 10, how old are your babies?
I'm not a bright man, brother. I got a 3, a 6, and a 12 right now.
There we go.
I'm
You got
old.
6 and
I'm an
12.
old dude.
That's all right, though.
Yeah.
But in the next 10 years, all of those opportunities are going to dwindle away.
Yeah.
They're going to be in that space. Your 12-year-old is probably going to start slowly moving into that space in the next 3 to 4 years. But where they don't want
Yeah.
to, they don't want to go out in these things. They want to, and this is, and one thing, just for a point of reference, that's what they need to do. So it's not a
Right.
space for them not liking you. This is the development
Right.
stages of children. They get to a certain age around their teenage where they find their own voice. They become their own independent person and they want to figure out what they like outside of their parents. So
Right.
what that means for you is that, hey, there's going to be a space coming up where there's that separation is going to happen. So I get to take the girls out, and walk today. Even though I wanted this for my time, I get to do that. Let's go do it. Let's go, girls. Come on.
Yeah.
It's hot, but we're gonna
Yeah.
do a short block. We're not gonna do the big block. Like whatever way to still get some movement in is a benefited
Right.
factor for you. What's your thoughts on that?
No,
How you feeling?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I think that's, yeah, and like I was saying, it's not as if I don't want to spend that time. And I read something a while back and it said one of these days, one day very soon, your child is going to ask you to pick them up for the last time and you're not going to know it. And I've always just, that hits me. You know what I mean? So, and I'm like, I have a joke where I tell people where my second daughter, um, my 6-year-old, I tell people all the time, she's going to be the first one that gets kidnapped because she just runs up to people and just hugs their leg and stuff, and just but my buddy told me, he's like, well, bro, think about it. I mean, they're getting their love from a dude who's 6'4", covered in tattoos, bald, looks like a biker, just, how do you expect that? They're not afraid of anything, and I don't want them to be. I mean, there's a sense of, obviously you got to teach them, but I get to teach them. I get to give them those kind of, those opportunities to learn. So, but it is tough because when I do have those thoughts, like we were talking, it's like, oh, I need to do this walk because I need to get my head straight. It's tough for me because I kind of battle with that part. I mean, I know, like we were talking about defining ourselves. I know that I was defining myself the wrong way for so long. But one of my biggest definitions right now is the fact that I know I'm a good father. I know that I put my time in. I know that they, I constantly teach them to not be afraid of me and not be, I don't want to be your friend, but I need you to understand that if something does go wrong, you can call me like you could call a friend, and I no questions asked. I don't care what's going on. If you're in danger, whatever, you know what I mean? But there's still those times where I'm like, oh man, okay, well, all right. I can't go on my walk right now. You know what I mean? Or because and then, when it was really hot last week and they wanted to go on the walk, I was like, I just know you're going to melt it in like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So why don't we just go play in the backyard and do some water time? And that's what we did,
Yeah.
instead of, cause you got to use your head as a parent too. That, it's like, you can't always just, like give into that kind of want and need, but then there's other times where I'm like, you know what? Let them, I also subscribe to that too. I don't know if you ever heard that story, but there was a story. I don't know if it was made up or not, but basically it talked about a lady who was going to a wedding with her young daughter, and she bought her daughter a dress, and the daughter wanted to wear the dress, and she wouldn't let her wear the dress. And about a month before this wedding, the daughter was killed by a drunk driver. Never got to wear the dress, so she buried her in the dress. Obviously heartbreaking, just but I let him wear the dress. Dad, can we go play in the water? Wear the dress. Dad, can we go for a walk? Wear the dress. You know what I mean? In situations where I know that but that's hard for me. That's very hard for me because I don't come from a background of those kind of things. No, man. Kids are seen, not heard, kind of thing. And and then most of the time, the only time I got talking tos was when I got in trouble. Like, I mean, so it is fun to kind of flip the script now, but I think also what I'm trying to do here with you and go on this path of coaching and learning about myself is that I can embrace those opportunities more, like you said. I get, not got, you know it's easier for me now, especially with hearing that. It's like, okay, I just reframe it. It's like switching the channel on the TV. Okay, I don't want to watch this channel anymore. This channel has not benefited me at all. Let me go to something that's more inspiring and more more uplifting. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, man, I like it, man. I like it. So homework. Let's get to it. Let's talk about how many times were you able to write and reflect?
Let's see. I have it here. I got 4 total days in. Three total days. I'm sorry. 3 total days in. And then I was just sitting down to write my morning one here because, again, life, and had to take a cat into the vet and all that kind of stuff. So I can see 1, 2, 3.5 days. So I'm on writing my morning one right now. So that'll be the half day basically.
All right, and then reflect on the what were the goals, questions, and things that you had to write towards.
Well, my goals for this week were really to deal with my emotions, like we talked about, trying to not let them lead my way, which I feel like I'm really getting better at. In fact, I have a really good example of that if we have time. But my bathroom blew up. I think I told you, and it's been about a month since we've had to have insurance come in and look at it and all that. And finally got the okay that they're paying for everything, and we had gone to go pick tile, and I thought we were on the same page, Lisa and I. And as the contractor shows up Monday morning, no phone call, no nothing. He says, "Do you have tile picked out? We're ready to tear it apart." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay," and we're both just flustered. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be woke up by a, surprise contractor? And so we kind of got heated. I'm like, "Yeah, we did it," and she's, "No, we didn't." One thing we were able to do, which we've never done it when we were in a relationship, was be able to just walk away and say, "Hey, let's take a break." 5 minutes. I'm not a guy who comes back to things either. Like, I don't come back to it. I'm like, let it go. I don't want to deal with it. It's over. So I have to in order to repair this relationship, and so I immediately, within 5 minutes, I went right back. I was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be working on, is my emotion. I went right back and I said, "Listen, I apologize for my part in this. I got a little bit overwhelmed. I was, as out of sorts as you were, and let's discuss this a little bit more and figure out how to do it." So I went from letting my emotions lead me to guiding me, where they guided me into a more accepting, more understanding kind of a viewpoint, a different perspective, if you will.
Okay, how'd you
And
feel
that,
after?
and it's um, still kind of bent, almost honestly, almost like I had given up a part of myself, if that makes sense. Like, uh, yeah, why should I be the one? Like, the ego came up in that. Yeah, so I had to kind of check myself there, you know, um, and realize again, I don't have to, I get to, I mean, like you said. So, but yeah, my ego came up a little bit. It kind of made me, I had to sit back and really reflect. And that was one of the days that I did right. And I'm proud about that. Because I was able to realize, one, that I had an issue here. I was not contributing to a conversation. I was, or not giving a positive contribution to the conversation. I was, being a detriment to the conversation. I was able to realize that, and then I was able to go back and try and repair that. And that creates trust for both of us, I think. So, yeah.
Nah, you're absolutely right. That's what I was going to say next. Doing that allows you all opportunity to recognize that we can have hard conversations, and taking a break is a good space to do when things are heated, because we're talking at each other, and then at this point we're not even talking about the subject, because at the end of the day they still need tile, they still need the work done, and y'all are talking about, well, did we do it or not, or did we come up with
Right.
one or not? That has nothing to do with the situation. And then also you being able to go back and apologize for your part, because once again, you can't control what other people do, but taking an honest accountability to how you responded to it is what's needed. That's what emotional maturity looks like. That's what being an adult looks like. Like, being able to say, you know what, I could have handled it differently and I did. And I apologize for that. That's not an admittance to being wrong or right or anything, but it's just saying that the way that I responded was out of character, and I should not have taken place. So forgive me. And that's a good space to step into. My next question would be, what do you? Well, no, you said one of the barriers that you felt afterwards was just a sense of losing who you were. And I want to lean towards something today called an identity reset. Like, with this, I want to reset your identity. Like, who are you without the pressure to perform?
All right. Well, that's all for this week, folks. Gosh.
Who is leaning with pressure to perform for others, for themselves, to live these narratives of manhood and productivity and all of those things? Like, who are you?
Wow. Yeah. Gosh, man, really, I think, I think if it comes down to it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of why I'm on this journey. I don't really, I've been so many things that, I've talked about this before with people, like I wanted to be an actor so bad when I was younger. That's all I wanted to do. And then I let other people's, insecurities and things kind of take over my dreams. And I was good. I mean, I know people say that, but I was in a troupe down in the Bay Area. I mean, I did a lot of Shakespeare. But I got scared and I wanted that instant gratification. So I went away from it. And instead I became kind of an actor in my life, holding all kinds of different spaces and different things. And, so now I'm trying to figure out who I am. And, I know I'm funny. I know I'm engaging. I know I'm compassionate. But uh, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean,
No,
you
and
know,
but you started there a little bit with your self worth and everything else like that. But I also, what were you taught directly and indirectly about the value of a man?
well, that's yeah, hard work. I mean, you- at the risk of not saying too much because there are. I mean, the men in my life are good people, but they weren't good examples, if that makes sense. So I never had. I mean, I was taught more that you get what you can out of people, and you do it by manipulation or yelling or whatever. I mean, that sort of thing.
No, I mean, and that's real.
And
That's
yeah,
real. Like what you're saying is what a lot of men are taught. And once again, it may not be directly, but indirectly, the way of what you see growing up. The experiences, and what happens is a lot of men, a lot of people, we grew up in survival mode. Survival mode
right,
is more so of this is what I got to do to live. This is what I got to do to eat. There's less opportunity for emotional intelligence or empathy or any of these different things. It is more performative based because it's in order to get here, I have to do this. In order to, in order for me to be successful, I must perform. I must work at this job. I must do this. I must do that. Then we got to, question what do we define success as, and whose standard are we looking at that is considered successful? Being
right,
able to really truly understand, like, what are the things that I learned? How did I internalize, being a man, being, moving in this space? And the reason why we start there is because that helps process, you know, the whole situation about, me asking, how you feel, the ego feeling that kind of rolls up when you apologize. And that's where that kind of came from. That question came from because you were mentioning, hey, you apologized, and yet part of you still felt like, ugh, like who am I? Like why do I need to be the one? Where do we learn that from? If you learn that from a space
right,
of indirectly, telling people I got to get it, get it through coercion, get it through aggressive talk, get it through size and manipulation in that space, then that's how we learn how to operate and move. And that's how that's why we struggle. Right? There may be a rate. There might be a weight or a wrestle between, calming down because that's what I saw growing up. That's what I understood as getting stuff
right,
done. If things didn't go, my
right,
uncle's way or my father's way, they went all the way out and they took it all the way to 10.
right,
And people started changing. So therefore, if things don't go my way, this is what I learned. And once again, it's no fault to our parents. It's no fault to those who help raise us. It's just their lived experiences, their own traumas that caused them to be able to view life in that lens. But because, you're in the space of being able to, afford the life that you have, afford the opportunity to, find a life coach, get an opportunity to have, a therapist and couples therapy. And because you get that opportunity to be in that space, you can begin to look at things from a different lens. You can begin to
Right.
unwind and process and reframe and redirect what we once thought was our identity. And that's what I wanted to kind of start with you there. And how do you but with that, how do you feel like providing and performance shape who you are today?
what from the past or the way I'm trying to live now? Is that
From your upbringing, all the way to now, what do you think that shaped in terms of your identity? And the reason why I say this is because a lot of times I'm going back to, what you said last week in terms of how you respond to things and how you blow up. You get upset and it goes to 10. A lot of that is tied into, what you're doing, or if you feel as if anybody's questioning your identity, questioning what you're doing, questioning how you're performing in that space, or challenging it in that space, it becomes, you become defensive. And now
right?
it's a space of, so I equate that to performance, to providing, to perfectionism. Like those are kind of the things that I kind of hear. And then I want to know, like, how do you feel like that shaped your identity as a person? Like, was it a space of growing up where I always had to do something in order to feel loved, feel appreciated, or any of those things?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's something I've talked about with my, almost all my therapists is that, the affection I received was always based off of my behavior. And if I wasn't doing anything correctly or doing something incorrectly, then it was immediately, taken away from me. And I kind of projected that on, well, all of my relationships really, until recently. I mean, and, when I've started to realize that that's not how it should be, um, I mean, I'm very, like, now I'm very, because I have recognized it. I'm very proud of myself that I recognize that with my girls as well. If they're in trouble for something, and I don't even like to say in trouble, but if there's something I need to redirect them on, or course correct, then I want to make sure that we both say, hey, you're not a bad kid. We all make mistakes. We all do this. The reason I'm explaining this to you is such, 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 such. Not, hey, what the hell are you doing, man? What, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was very, and of course, all that did was build my ego up more, because once I got the laughter and once I got that kind of, that good feeling from the person or whatever, it just made me feel like, that protection side of the ego didn't have to be there right then, but the ego was like, oh, look at me. You know what I mean? Like, see, you can make everybody laugh. See, you can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it shaped me. And, and again, I was, like fighting, another thing. I mean, I should be dead, with the stuff that I've done, but I mean, I wouldn't fight one-on-one, man. I would like tell, and that just fed my ego. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, of course, I'm 6'4", I'm fighting guys that are, 5'10". There may be four of them, but still, 5'10". Once I got against somebody who's as big as me, I always ended up having a fight. You know what I mean? But it fed my ego. It made me believe that I was so invincible or whatever, which
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, so, now I'm starting to realize that. Like, I had a conversation with my 6-year-old today. I would say said something. I was just being funny, and I don't know if you ever heard that meme or whatever. He said, "In the face,"
Yeah.
and we were talking about the vet, and I was like, "I'm gonna go punch him in the face." She goes, "I'm gonna go with you and punch him in the," and I said, "You know what? Listen, Daddy's done a lot of this, and I need you to understand that this is not okay." I said, "How many times have you ever seen Daddy punch anybody in the face when he's upset?" She said, "Never." I said, "You're right." I said, "How many times have you heard me say something to somebody and they walk away?" And she said, "All the time." I said, "Yeah, because I can hurt their feelings a lot more by just talking to them than I can by putting hands on them." I said, "If you put hands on somebody, you've already lost, and that's how I feel. I mean, I mean, I'll defend my family and myself, but there's no reason for us to go that route. And if I can't talk you out of that, then I'm doing something wrong as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, that ego's strong with me. I mean, it's I mean, I'm different just like everybody else, but that ego is, it's like the Great Wall. I mean,
Yeah. But no, and that's a good point, man. I do appreciate you, sharing that, and then also recognizing that in your baby, and taking a moment to step back and pour into her and allow her to understand. One more question I want to ask though, with this space of always having to perform and always having to, that's the only way you receive behavior, or receive any type of acknowledgement. What do you think you've lost in always trying to be that person or always trying to do something?
well, to be honest, I don't think I've lost anything. I believe that I am where I'm supposed to be. Um, were there opportunities I could have probably taken, could have been afforded if I hadn't believed these things needed to be, in place for me to live or continue? Probably, sure. But I don't think I've lost anything. I mean, I think if anything, I've done nothing but gain. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I continue to. I mean, I'm a blessed man, dude. I mean, someday we'll be able to sit down over a cup of coffee and I can tell you really, like, I'm a blessed man, bro. I mean, so as far as lost, maybe time, just time. I wish I had realized earlier, just like a lot of people, but I don't harbor on, or sorry, I don't, you know, I don't sit on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got too much. There's too many things that I could just sit here and go, oh shit, like, no. I mean, what I'm focused on is moving forward, and I think if anything, I would like to lose my ego. I would, I'd like to lose, some of the tools I learned to defend myself or to, to navigate the world. Those would be things I would like to lose, but um, I think, the only thing that I've lost is time, really, because I've gained so much knowledge throughout my life, and so many opportunities to grow, and so many opportunities to be, around, solid humans, and yeah. So
Yeah. Okay, that's good, man.
I know I'm not answering. I know I'm not answering, but I really, I mean, that's how that's how I look at stuff. So I mean,
No, 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 and there's nothing wrong with that. Do you feel like because a lot of and so the point that I was driving with that space of losing something, um, when we grow up in a space of always being performative, we lose a sense of who we want to be or who we are called to be. Earlier you talked about wanting to be an actor. You wanted to act, as a child, but yet based upon performance, based upon what other people expected of you, you shifted that thought, you shifted that goal, and you weren't able to move in that light in that way. You've done, like you mentioned, you've done some things here and there, but moving into that space, moving into that realm, I feel like there was a loss of what some things, some passions that I wanted to do or who I wanted to be, and it was kind of picked up or transferred over to a new space or a new route, or redirected it to a different person. Now, the man that you are today, it doesn't reflect, it doesn't mean that there's any regrets on what happened. And I don't want you to
right,
equate, I don't want you to equate that question of who you lost as a space of, is there any space that you regret not living or not doing? But being honest, having an honest conversation about, where you moved and how you wanted to move. Like for me, for an example, like I think I mentioned, well, I mean, I've mentioned on social media and everywhere, like, I wasn't a fan of playing sports. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. But being 6'9" or being 6'7", 6'8" at 14, 15, that's everybody always put me at. You know, you need to go play sports. You need to do this. You need to do that. My uncle wanted me to play, put me in football, put me in basketball, put me in all these spaces. But that's not what I was really passionate about. And for years, you know, I ran this sport and did all of this and tried to trick myself into saying that I wanted to play and I like this and like that, as a means to appease everybody else. But, you know, on the inside, man, I really wanted to, you know, just live my life, man. I wanted to sing. I wanted to continue singing. I wanted to take up an instrument, learn how to play music. I wanted to do like all of these different other areas. But because I felt like I needed to do that for other people, I felt like I needed to perform because that's what people think is cool. That's what people like. I lost out on, you know, possibly learning more instruments, learning more, moving in my authenticity as a child, gaining different relationships with other people because I was able to open myself up to a space that I wanted to be in, which could have helped propel me in a different trajectory of life. Now, do I regret it? Absolutely not, because I'm here with you today because of it. You know what I'm saying? We crossed paths because of my lived experience. I became my big black therapist because I didn't learn how to move in my identity, my authenticity years ago. So if I learned it then, this space wouldn't even be here created. You know, so I don't regret it. You know, and I'm very appreciative of being able to have that experience. But in retrospect, I know that if I went back and I was able to be more vocal about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to move, and how I wanted to be looked at, then I'm sure that could have changed the type of person that I am today. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I agree 100%. And when it, and if, and looking at it in that aspect, then yeah, I mean, I believe I think the thing I lost the most of would be my innocence and my ability to you know to make an informed emotional decision, if you will.
Yeah, no, and
because
that's good. You know, I feel like, you know, learning in survival mode, it taught you how to perform, but at what cost? It costs you the permission for you to just be. It costs you the permission for you to just be you. And like you said, have that innocence. You know, have the things that your baby's got right now. Your girl's got that space where they can, like you said, your second child, your 6-year-old, run up to folks, hug them, and all of that was lost at a very young age. That was taken based upon, you know, your experience. But now you're in a space of moving in that you know, moving in a different realm. But with that, like I mentioned before, it's good to you know, recognize what you've done well. You know, one of the things you mentioned was fatherhood. You know, being a father. It's something that you've done well. You know, what other things would you what other moments in life would you say that you're genuinely proud
of? You know, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of little things that I can, you know, like you know, I mean, I'm learning now that I'm good at all the things that I'm good at because of the fact that I lived in such a chaotic, you know, kind of life. But I think the one thing I'm most proud about is that I I'm committed to change. I'm committed to getting deep inside of myself and figuring out who I am, you know, and I'm proud of that. I think that's one of the biggest things in my life that you know, that it's and you know, I would say, like, I'll fight you over it. You know what I mean? But that's exactly it. Like, I'm realizing that, you know what? I don't care. I don't need to prove this to people. I'm not doing this, like I said to you, you know, it's like your feelings aren't going to be hurt if I don't write. You know, your feeling, it's like you're just going to be like, dude, what's up? Why are we, you know, why are we even doing this? You know what I mean? That's how you would be. I'm the one who's getting hurt. I'm the one who's not, you know, fulfilling the full potential, you know. So I think the fact that I am committed is something that I'm very proud of. It's something that I'm very, you know, I'm I'm even stoked to see me do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm not used to doing that. I'm not used to being that guy. I'm a runner, man. I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm a fighter when it comes to everything else. You get me in a corner, then but when it comes to like responsibility or taking responsibility for myself for what I've done, I don't want any part of that.
Mm,
And I'm very proud of myself for changing that. I'm very proud of myself for recognizing and starting this journey.
that's good,
Um,
man. There's strength in your identity. You know, because even watching you when you're thinking back on your upbringing and the things that you experienced, I sense a lot of struggle. I sense a lot of stress, a lot of frustrations. Like you mentioned, chaos, but there's resilience in there because even with me not knowing your full story to see you in the space that you're in today, to for me to get to know the man that you are today, and your heart in wanting to change, your heart in wanting to get better, and your belief in doing so. That's a real blessing. And that's something to be proud of because a lot of people, once they get grays in their hair and all of that, well, they don't ain't got no more hair. They feel as if they can't change, and this is who they are, and they accept it. I've had plenty of people that I've talked with in my life that aren't ready, that will never move forward because they don't feel as if they can because of life, because of what they experience. They blame everybody else for everything that they've done. Everything is just, I can't do it. Look at every time something happens good, something bad happens. Every time that like full of a lot of complaints and struggles, and I understand it. The thing about it is I understand it. But also taking the opportunity to recognize that what you're also doing is putting the shackles on your own feet. You're binding yourself and you're saying, I'm giving up. And the fact that, you're still a fighter, even when it comes down to life right now. When it comes down to your mental health, when it comes down to your emotional being, you're still fighting. And that's strength. There's strength in that. So part of your identity is your resilience and your ability to be able to, look at things in a different lens and be optimistic about, moving forward and really, making those changes. What's your thoughts on that?
I appreciate that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I had a couple of things. One, again, I know I'm probably going to give you a big head, but I really just love the way you articulate, and you're able to tweak it, my thoughts, because I really do appreciate that. You're right. Resilience is huge for me, and I don't give myself enough credit for that. You know, um, and I am fighter. I'm fighting for the right things too. I'm not fighting you know, for stupidity or nothing. I mean, and again, this is, I'm gonna probably butcher this one too, but bad things happen to everybody. It the good ones are just the ones who know how to deal with it and move forward.
There
Don't
we
let
go.
it define them and don't let them keep them down. So I'm trying to be that good one. In that light, and that I still I don't put myself in a category of got it figured out, good person, good human, you know what I mean? But I know that I've got some really tight friends who know that I would bust down walls to help them. I know that my kids know that they're going to be safe with me, even though I may be angry in some situations or whatever, they know they're safe with me. They know they're going to be okay. They can always get a hug. They can, I mean, my partner is, or, Lisa, we're starting to really learn to trust each other and navigate, relationships in and out of commitment um, easier and better. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fight in me, and there's a lot of good things when it comes to that. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
I want to throw something in there real quick. Your resilience, you know what that's built in?
Don't say my ego.
You got it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Damn it. Damn it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I actually
Yes.
I was just that's funny.
So
That's funny. I gotta write that down.
As we wrap it up, I wanna go back to this ego point, man. Because you know, one of the things you say you want to get rid of is your ego, but egos, they have a place in our life. It's just that, is it serving me or is it controlling me? And that's what you gotta, you know, that's what you gotta operate in. Is my ego serving me for the good? Is it in a healthy way, or is it controlling me in a way in which, you know, I don't know how to, you know, I need constant validation. You know, I defend I take everything as an attack. You know, anytime, you know, I anchor myself in fear and rejection. Like, you know, I have pride and insecurities, and you know, I may mask my insecurities with arrogance. Like, that's where it's unhealthy. But when we're looking for something that's in a healthy realm, you know, it's like, hey, I know my worth, and I don't need to prove it to anybody. You know, I can accept feedback without crumbling, without it affecting me. I can, you know, instead of being anchored in my rejections, I'm anchored in my values. I'm anchored in my resilience, the good things that I'm doing in life. You know, I lead with purpose. I can be able to, you know, balance my humility with my self-belief. Like, that's where it's the healthy ego. So what I want to do with you is that I want to shift it. You got your ego, brother. Your ego is what got you this, was what is part of this resilience. Now we need to learn how to shift it and ensure that it's working for me and it's not controlling me. Does that make sense?
Total sense. Yeah. Total sense.
What's your thoughts on it?
For sure. For sure. I think that's exactly how I need to be thinking. Again, it's the changing of the channel, you know, because you know, I say I want to get rid of it, and even when I said that, I realized that, you know, my ego is fed now by having those conversations with my daughter about not laying hands on somebody. My ego is fed now by spending that time with them, you know, and you know, having the opportunity to just to be around them. I mean, that's what it's fed by now.
Yeah.
And it's fed by change. It's fed by change. You know, I'm able to commit to things. I'm able to do things that you know, stay committed to things that are important to me, not to others, you know? So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one of, you know, there's a couple of things that I need to marinate on now, you know, that being one of them, on how you know, how's that going to tweak in my brain? You know what I mean? Like, because it's true. I mean, you know, but I also, I'm so afraid of the ego, because it's been, you know, the 13-year-old protecting me, my whole, you know, that part of me inside that just thinks, oh, I got to be that guy. I got to be that tough guy or whatever, you know. You can be tough and still be human. You know what I mean? You can still be tough and still learn. You can still be tough and not be, you know, an arrogant asshole, you know? And so I'm learning. So
I like it.
yeah.
Man. I like it. I'm gonna leave you with this. Your ego is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It's your mirror. So the work is learning when to check it and when to trust it. Your ego is not your enemy. It's your mirror. It's the direct reflective of your life, what you've experienced. And it's not about, you know, the work comes in and, you know, when do I need to check it? When do I need to realize, hey, I don't need to act this way? When do I need to trust it? You know, like you mentioned, you know, leading with purpose with your babies, being able to have resilience, being able to be focused on change. Those are the places when I need to trust my ego. You know, recognize, like, you know, choosing to be right over being connected. I don't need to trust my ego during that time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you resist feedback or change because it threatens how you are looked or perceived as, I don't need to trust my ego during that time. You know, when it's built on your identity and who you are, I don't need to trust my ego. But when we're looking at a space of showing up in rooms because you belong there, or just showing up in rooms because you belong there, that's your confidence in who you are. That's ego.
Right.
Looking at how far you've come and let that motivate you to the next step. That's your ego. I'm trusting it in that space. So yeah, man, like your ego's not your enemy, it's your mirror. And we just need to learn when to check it and when to trust it. So that's what we got for today, brother. How you
I
feeling?
appreciate you, man. Hey, I'm feeling good. I feel like you need to save some of this stuff for future podcasts. But man, you just got so many words of wisdom, man. And I really am thankful for you, bro. I really am.
Man, I think
Yeah.
I'll probably clip some of this, like not this, but make a post or especially that ego thing. I never that was actually really good. So I'll probably utilize that to create a post for it or something like that. But yeah, man, for homework this time around, man, I want you to continue to stay on track with your stay on track with what you're doing now. Let's get a solid full weekend. I'm glad you was able to, get 3.5 days in. I was only expecting 2, so the fact that you got 3.5 days, you already moving forward. Because before we move forward with something else, I want to ensure that you can, we get to that level of consistency with what we need to do now. And remember, changing that word from got to get, and even just recognizing how that mind shift has helped redirect, what you're doing within this, from this week to next week.
Right. Yeah. I got that. Yeah.
All righty, man. We're good to go, man.
All right. Well, thanks again, man. Hold on one second here.